Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be diving deeper into the Undertow. Last episode, we unveiled the Undertow with Serena and Amanda, my co-hosts. And today, we're going to be diving deeper by talking about the WaveMaker and what we define as a WaveMaker. Maybe you are either a WaveMaker now or the next WaveMaker. We're going to be talking about why it's important for WaveMakers to be supported, why it's important for them to be a part of the Undertow, and why we're going to be introducing to you some amazing people over the next little while to talk about ocean conservation. And, it's really interesting because each and every one of us, Serena, Amanda, myself, we are WaveMakers in and of itself, and we are getting together to support other WaveMakers. That's what we focus on today, why it's important for them to be supported, why it's important for them to have a community like the Undertow, and I can't wait to talk about it. So we're going to reflect on our progress around the Undertow and the WaveMaker, share a few behind the scenes insights, and of course, it'll give you a little sneak peek into how we're shaping this movement together. So let's get started on this episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. Let's start the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lewin, and this is the podcast where you find out what's happening with the ocean, how you can speak up for the ocean, what you can do to live for a better ocean by taking action. And on today's episode, like I mentioned, we are going to be talking more specifically about the Undertow's WaveMaker, what a WaveMaker is, how you can become one unless you're already one, and how we are going to be supporting them through the Undertow. I've been doing this podcast for about 10 years now. I'm coming up on 10 years this month, and it is something that I've seen a while, the WaveMaker. I haven't categorized them as WaveMakers, but I've seen these people who independently start projects like beach cleanups on a regular basis, or a hashtag on the internet that goes viral or starts to pick up a lot of steam, starts a podcast, starts as a content creator, or does something with a project that's above and beyond, and maybe in the outer part of what your traditional marine conservationist could be. So that could be someone who's working for a nonprofit organization or someone who's working in government. But these are the people who kind of step outside the boundaries. These are side projects that become a full-time project, or as somebody who's just doing something so incredible, it doesn't really fit within the confines of what we consider a marine biologist, marine conservationist, someone who does mindfulness with the oceans, or there's a number of business with the ocean. There's a number of different ways you can do stuff with marine conservation, but not everybody's supported the same way. And so today we're going to be diving into what a WaveMaker is and why they need help, basically, is what we're really going to be talking about. So I'm joined again by Amanda and Serena, my co-founders here at the Undertow, for this second episode. I can't wait for you to listen about the WaveMaker, and I'd love to hear your feedback. So here is the interview with myself, Serena, and Amanda. Enjoy, and I'll talk to you after. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Serena. Welcome back to the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. Are you ready to talk about the Undertow?
We are.
Always.
Wonderful. Look, this is the second episode of our Undertow series. This is an introduction to what the Undertow is. We talked a lot about it in the last episode, but we're going to talk a little bit about, today, about the WaveMaker and what a WaveMaker is and what our community is supposed to build. So I'm looking forward to getting into all of this. But before we do, I know we just did it over the last episode, but why don't we remind each other, or remind our audience, who we are and what we do. So let's start with Amanda. Why don't you just remind the audience who you are and what you do?
I'm so excited to have made some progress since our last episode. I'm Amanda Horn. I'm a Canadian ocean advocate. I am a scuba diver. I'm a free diver and an ocean entrepreneur. And I am just so excited to be building this with you guys and just creating a place for everyone and anyone who's been trying to navigate their pathway into taking action for the ocean. And that's why we have the Undertow.
Awesome. And Serena, how about yourself?
I am Serena Nguyen. I am also an ocean advocate, scuba diver, newer scuba diver though, than Amanda, free diver, and actually more recently now also an ocean children's book author. So that's also very exciting. And I've been doing strategy consulting on ocean innovation, how to build your strategies to incorporate ocean solutions into your businesses. So this is just a part of the journey, but such a critical one that I've seen over the last 10 years or so in the innovation sector. So I'm excited to kind of bring all my worlds together.
Absolutely, and it's so fun to be able to work with both of you over the last almost last year, really, to be able to bring the Undertow to everybody else, which is amazing. Why don't we just, Amanda? Why don't we just go through, just in case people missed last episode, and I highly recommend people watch or listen to the last episode. But why don't you just go through the mission of the Undertow, because we're really going to be focusing on that and today and really focusing on the WaveMaker, but it really comes down to the mission. So why don't you just kind of let people know what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Undertow, we say that we are a mission-driven marketplace for ocean knowledge and ocean action. And the biggest thing that I think all of us connected over was that once you connect with somebody about water and what inspired them to how that has shaped their personal life, their professional life, and inspired them to take action for it, that seemed to be really the common thread of these incredible change makers, whether they were coming from the creative side, from the sciences, from policy advocacy. There was some sort of connection in their personal life that made them want to commit and dive in at whatever point they were in their career. And for some people, that was very early on, like they knew right away that going into marine biology was the thing. But for a lot of other people, there seems to be a very dramatic pivot or water awakening, if you will. And so it's been, yeah, a really interesting and collective vision that it is coming together. It feels like we're building the thing that we all needed in previous careers as a place to convene and really catalyze ocean action. So the Undertow's mission is to unlock 10 million new ocean connections by World Ocean Day 2030. But most importantly, as well as unlock 5 million in ocean, in investments for ocean towards ocean action.
Which is great because I mean, obviously we agree on this because we're driving this mission, but it's something that I feel is needed, and especially with these connections to help guide that awakening. I think a lot of people, once they get that awakening, I'm someone who's had it since I was a kid, always wanting to be around the ocean, but some of the people who are in their adult stage or even any stage of life where they're just like, what do I do now? And they feel overwhelmed. And then sometimes that leads to inaction. We want to lead them to an action that they feel comfortable with, which I think is really important. I feel a lot of people, when I talk to them about the ocean, it's like, well, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. And then maybe I'll just forget about it and like move on with my life. But still get that little bit of anxiety. We've heard that the term climate anxiety, ocean anxiety, and we want to get rid of that and start putting people on a path to guiding. So I love that. I love that actually. I mean, and Serena, you've been doing that through business and through on the business stand front. What was that catalyst that really made you like switch? You talked a little bit about earlier about being a newer scuba diver. What was really that catalyst that made you want to like switch and then to actually take action through your own personal career?
Yeah, I think I think I shared this in part of the story in the first episode, but I've always had a bias. Younger, I was like, oh, like I care about the environment. I remember doing like a little like project and like presentation on it. I started a little extracurricular volunteer thing about it. And then the pressures of life and responsibility kind of took over, and I took a more traditional path, and that part of me quieted down, right? And I think over the last 3 or 4 years, as I matured in my professional life and my career, I really started to ask myself, like, what do I want to leave behind? What's the impact I want to make? I shared, I've always been a snorkeler and a water lover, and starting to see the differences in the coral life, in my water experiences, and then really asking myself, like, I want to save this for my future family. How am I going to start doing that? I'm working all of these hours. I'm so tired. Like we kind of I hit that wall, and I had to ask myself, what am I dedicating that time and that legacy and that impact professionally into? And that's when I started to, that was kind of like the tipping point, if you will, kind of like that personal trigger. And then to your point, Andrew, I'm one of those people that like kind of awakened later in life. And so I started diving into all of the information and the stories and, what is it going to take to be able to take my kids snorkeling and diving and all of this stuff. and it was overwhelming. I connected and I was listening to your podcast actually. I was trying to like educate myself. And so I had internally awoken through my own passion and through my own love for the water, and then being able to ask myself, okay, well, why do I care about it and what do I want to do for it? And for me, it was like, well, if I'm working all these hours and I'm doing all this stuff in my professional life, why don't I gear it a little bit more towards something that I want to share in the future with generations to come, my kids being one of them. So that trigger point happened. And then Amanda and I connected over this last year or a couple years ago at UN Ocean Decade, where I was like, and I started like kind of getting lost in the science and all the stories and all
Yeah.
the information that was out there. And I was like, I wish there was just like one place where I could learn about how people were starting to make those pivots in their lives, how they connected and made changes in their daily lives. I wanted to start going plastic free, and it's hard to tell what's not greenwashed and or blue washed and what is real and what isn't. But I learned a lot through your podcast, through the storytelling that I experienced with people who had shared their journey. And I just started to copy it. And I was like, wouldn't it be great if it was just in one place? Like, wouldn't it be great if I could go somewhere, I could listen to those stories, and then I could actually make some changes where and when I was willing, knowing that these people have dedicated their lives or are just as committed as
Yeah.
I am, and have started the research themselves. And so it's kind of like that trusted community crowdsourcing marketplace concept where we didn't see it out there. And so we said, can we create it instead?
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about each one of our stories and how we all met is we all had our different projects that we were doing, right? Like Amanda, you were on your entrepreneurship journey with, and continue to be with bringing sort of great products that are also good for the environment, right? Having those values there, but also really helpful products for women and so forth. And I think that was really good. And then Serena, you're helping corporations to really understand their relationship with water, their relationship with the ocean, protecting the ocean. And for me, we mentioned the podcast. We're on it right now to help drive that information there, guide people into lessen that anxiety and just being like, look, if you just want to learn, this is where you learn. If you want to take action, you can take action. We all have what we call ourselves WaveMakers, really. This is where it really got like coined for us, was just like we're each on this individual journey with different homes in space, whether it be on the internet space, whether it be in the corporate space or the entrepreneurship space. But there was really no space for WaveMakers to have an audience or build an audience or even provide the messaging as well as any sort of products and services. And so, Amanda, why don't you just talk a little bit about that WaveMaker aspect here with the Undertow and say, like, this is what we want to be doing. We want to be supporting, people who are doing very similar to what we're doing.
Yeah, and I love that we've all asked this question, like, are we wave makers yet? Like, have we actually done enough? But that's also kind of the beautiful thing about letting this community grow and evolve organically, because the idea is whatever your superpower is, whatever your skill set is, the ocean needs it. So it's not to say this is exclusively only for people who are academics and researchers and working directly on
Right.
the science, because we need everybody together. So we started looking at how all of our paths kind of intersected. And like I said before, we're building the thing that we all individually needed in previous careers. And the thing that I like to challenge people when we refer to it as a marketplace is, as an entrepreneur, biggest question I get is, how are you going to find your customers? Who cares about swapping a more sustainable option? And my biggest dilemma when I was in marketing was, well, I worked in wine. So we would always say, just get liquid on lips, like get them to try it before they buy it. If they can taste it, they're going to love it. But so often those free samples, they're not only wasteful, but they're very expensive. And if you're not actually targeting the people who want to shop values aligned, when we're speaking about ocean safe, water conscious products, solutions, services, there needs to be a place that has that group ready and waiting and willing to hear from you. And in my case, test something that looks very ugly but is functional at an early stage. So I'm very excited to be able to allow the community to test our early prototypes. So basically, wave makers are people who have really committed to the fact that the ocean or water has had such a profound impact on their life that they wanted to dedicate their work and their purpose for it. And they have been the initiator on whether it's on a project. Maybe they're the head they're a founder of an NGO, or they're the founder of a podcast, or they have designed a new product and they're a founder. There are infinite ways to be considered a wave maker, but ultimately it's somebody whose relationship to water radically changed their life. And now they're taking positive action in the ocean through a pathway of their own. And the goal is to be able to give you a place to come and deepen your knowledge of the different ways that people are connecting and taking action for the ocean, and inspiring you to find somehow that maybe you could latch onto that or get inspired to start your own piece. But the other thing is, we really wanted to be able to showcase who is working on what, because there's so much duplication of effort. And it's really about empowering people to just be very clear on what their specific skill set is and what they could potentially lend and collaborate. And it's about how do we become more efficient when we're trying to collaborate and co-design and network with each other and really connect with intention. And yeah, I think that's what excites me the most about it, is having this connected network of incredible change makers who, as we say, are leading the way by making waves. And wave makers, we see that term and all the ocean puns thrown around a lot when it comes to branding and things in the ocean. But for us, it's so specific that it's pathways and the waterways that have led you to your path and purpose into the sustainable ocean economy. I'll leave it at that.
I
And
just want to
yeah.
add on, because Amanda, I think you covered it off so great, and the intentionality behind. I know Wave Makers is thrown around, but we spell it as in WAY first, because they're providing other ways for people to get pulled into ocean action, whether that is by first telling their story and connecting on a human and emotional level to kind of drive that water awakening, if you will, whether that story is because people want to find a way to sustainably travel or to make swaps in their everyday life, to bring this to their company's vision and mission. And then providing those solutions. So Amanda, you've got your products, I've got, the business, and then the consulting side and the storybooks. Andrew, you've got the podcast, the media side of things covered off. And in between all of that are the everyday life changes that we've made through purchase swaps, through volunteer hours, through initiatives that we've either supported in various ways, whether that's like human resource, capital resource, or otherwise. I think what's really important here, when you are a wave maker and creating new ways for people to connect in, it's the story, but also the work that you do. Because the other challenge that a lot of our wave makers face is SDG 14 is the lowest funded SDG of all of them. We have a fraction of the amount of capital that is being invested in climate solutions going to the ocean. And if we call it the lifeblood or the lungs of our earth, then, I think this is an opportunity to raise people's awareness, but also their ability to take action to drive more capital to this sector. Whether that's, being able to make those purchases of ocean safe products, whether that is volunteer hours, whether that is donations, whether that is finding ways to support in bigger ways, and at some point guiding their communities or their businesses to focus more on this. It's going to be an everybody effort, and we want to be able to provide that not only place to land, that that platform, that infrastructure to start centralizing things. We want to provide a community to drive that ongoing learning, because I can assure you I'm not going to go back to school to become a marine anything. And then of course, like an easy and simple path to taking action, whether that is everyday products, projects, and or company initiatives kind of thing.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head when you just said that. Like, you know, I've met a lot of people over my time where, you know, they get that awakening, and all of a sudden, like, I need to go back and become a marine biologist. I need to become a scientist. I need to do 4 years of undergrad, even though I already did 4 years of undergrad. Or maybe I need to do a master's, or maybe I need to do a PhD, which, if that's their choice, I always say, go ahead, do that. But a lot of times people are well into their careers. They might have families. They might have financial obligations that they have to be there, where that commitment and that sacrifice to go back to school is a lot. You know, it's a difficult thing. And I always tell people, like, look, we have a lot of scientists. We have a lot of marine biologists out there. Obviously, we need more, but there's a competition for funding, and it's not easy to get jobs when you're doing that. And we need more people in different places and different career paths, different sectors, to really have that mindset of, what can I do with my skill set right now to be able to put it on there? And I think that's where the guidance becomes a little wishy-washy, for lack of a better term. And it's where do I go from here? How do I apply it? And you know, do I need to join a board for a nonprofit, which that could be a great way to support, you know, your local nonprofit, or do I need to start my own project? And I think, you know, over my time, you know, I've done this for 10 years now, right? And with this podcasting, and I've been in the marine biology business for, you know, a long time, like almost more than 20 years. God, I'm old. This is crazy. But anyway, regardless, like, I've been in this for a while, and I've met a lot of people doing the podcast. I've talked to a lot of people, and I've seen some great things from people, like from my guests, and you know, talking about different projects. But everybody's doing it on their own. You know, a lot of the times there's what I've noticed is there's this category of people. It doesn't happen with everybody, and that's fine. But there's a category of people who are just, they've got such a passion for what they want to do, that they do it on their own. They just go ahead and do it. And they may get funding another way, whether it's through Patreon or whether it's through a service or a product or whatever, but they do it no matter what, at a sacrifice of their own time, of their own lifestyle, and or they change their lifestyle to do it because they have a real passion for it, but it doesn't fit within the mold of our traditional marine biology, marine conservation, nonprofit, or even government model. And they may not get support through that, through their own company or through their own, whoever they're working for. So they started on their own, but it's all individual. It's all on their own. And I feel like and I felt like this for a long time. And when Undertow came along, I'm like, yes, this is it. There needs to be a place where people can come, share their projects, share their missions, and then also have that infrastructure to build a business around it and get supported financially through it, because these are important things that could drive the next big wave of change that we've seen, and go beyond what we see, the traditional join a nonprofit organization, get paid very little. You know, there's nothing wrong with making money and still doing good for the ocean. You know, and I've been a big advocate of that for the last, 10, 20 years, and I'm still going to be that for going forward. So I love to, like, once we started talking about the WaveMaker and defining what that is, I can see people, you know, we have a list of people that, you know, we are going to invite, and we're inviting already, to join as a WaveMaker. And this is exciting because now we get to provide a place where they are supported, where they can share with each other, they can share with us. I mean, we're all, you know, we've kind of coined ourselves WaveMakers because we've been doing this. So we know a lot of the struggles, we know a lot of what's necessary. And I know, and both of you ladies know too, like, building a community, being part of a community, doing something that might be different will really help support us. And that's what I'm really excited about, around this time. Like, obviously the need for, building that helping them build that infrastructure, having a community and building that community for them, but also just being able to talk to somebody else who's gone through the same thing and share the woes and share the successes, and support each other. Because, like, I don't know about you ladies, but, like, there have been a lot of times where I've been like, is this right? Like, is this what I'm like? Should I really be doing this? I spend a lot of time on this. Like, is this what I really need to be doing? And the answer is yes, every time. But sometimes it helps because the three of us talk about it. It's like, no, we're doing the right. Like, this is, all of us individually are doing what we need to do. And then collectively, like, yeah, this is what we need to do. We need to help support. Serena, I think you were about to say something.
Yeah, like it's funny because we're early enough too that the beauty of this is our community and our wave makers get to shape the rest of this infrastructure. We're just the catalyst of this all, right? Because we had such a desire to be like, where do I get this information? Oh, I met that person along
Yeah.
my journey, and I met that person along
Right.
my journey, and they're really cool. And I'm like, how do I keep track of them all? How do I keep track of them all and the progress that they're making and the products they're creating or the initiatives that they're kicking off? How do I share that with people? Because, as I dove into this sector, people are like, Serena, like, what is the blue economy? Like, why the ocean? And as I start to share
Mm.
what I've learned over the last little bit, they're like, oh, yeah, you know what? I've always had a connection to the ocean and I'd love to do something, but like, where do I start? Back to kind of like what people
Yeah.
were saying to you, right?
Yeah.
And so now when I have those conversations with people who, first off, question why I made the change, and two, want to know how they can support me or want to make changes in their life and say, like, I'd love to help somehow, but I'm too busy. Like, can you just point me in the direction? I can invite them to the Undertow, and they'll
Yeah.
have a place where they can hear more stories like mine, probably strengthen their connection to the water, learn a
Yeah.
little bit more, but also take that action, right? So infrastructure, community, the action pathways, like they're all such a fundamental part of this community right now. And we hope that everybody will participate in helping us continue to evolve it and continue to give them the experience that maybe they were looking for. And so kind of put this on the back burner because it was overwhelming and there was too many options and it was hard to tell what was real versus on its way to being real versus maybe something that could use a little bit more research.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I think also what's interesting too is like when I meet someone who is a wave maker or who we define as a wave maker, I get so inspired. I get excited. I get giddy when I meet it. Like just the other day, I posted an interview. I've had it on a number of times. Dr. Andrew Thaler. He's always doing these individual projects. Working with his local government. Being on commissions and stuff like that. Spending a lot of time doing this stuff just for his local town. Of a small town getting over flooding and all this kind of stuff, and he comes up with all these projects, and you get inspired by it. You're just like, oh, this is awesome. And I think having wave makers in the Undertow community will help, I think, inspire people who join the community who may not have that project just yet or that individual sort of like goal yet, but might get inspired by what other people are doing. Be like, oh, maybe I can do something similar, or I've always wanted to do this, and just finally pull that trigger and say, yes, like this is it. Just like kind of what we all went through in a different pathway. And so, Amanda, like you meet a lot of people, who are doing different things in and outside of the ocean. Was there one point where you were just like, so you met somebody and you were just like, oh wow, like this person is a wave maker, like this person, I would love to either work with this person or just get completely inspired in what they're doing?
Yeah. And so when I first was starting my company, because I decided I need to pivot from the wine industry, figure out how to be a marketer in the ocean space. I'm not going to go be a marine biologist, but I love scuba diving. So maybe I can find a way for the ocean and scuba diving to be my life as a communications professional. And so I needed to build a network. I needed to talk to people who are in
Right.
it, but I had no idea the vastness of opportunities that existed. Um, and so I was trying to develop products and develop a brand. I didn't have time to blog. So I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast. I just love documenting these conversations with people whose amazing, like, again, personal connection to water has inspired them to initiate something cool. And it started as just a way for me to like be able to look back, like once I had launched a business and think of all the cool intersections of people. So like I talked to water sommeliers who had like health scares, and that was their path into educating people on the importance of clean, safe drinking water and health and hydration. I did a citizen science project of my own, and I talked to the founder of that. She was a Canadian. She established a project in Nusa Penida, Indonesia, and now has scaled that project to multiple sites all over Asia, and being able to bring people along to educate, pairing them up with marine biologists on the ground, involving them in their coral research. So I meeting mermaids, like I was meeting all these super cool people with interesting stories, people who consistently felt like even though they were doing so much, they felt like it wasn't of value. And so it was
Right.
also a way to remind people that whatever small action you are taking, whether you've chosen now to eliminate plastic in your bathroom or shorten your shower time, all the way up to like establishing a citizen science project, whatever you're doing, it's important. And we need to bring awareness to it so that people don't feel irrelevant or undervalued. And starting with your story and your connection and your why behind why you're doing your work. And it's such a beautiful and sometimes complicated thing to have your personal life intersect so much with your work, like, because there's no separation. Like, it's very challenging sometimes. But it was also a struggle for me as I was trying to navigate, who am I in this ocean space? Am I Amanda the marketer? Am I an ocean advocate? I'm not really a credible ocean advocate yet. What do I need to become that? How do I build products that people who work on the sciences would actually
Right.
validate and want to use? So that's been a whole very interesting. I don't want to be another greenwashing marketer. That was my whole
Right.
reason for wanting to leave the industry and create real change from the outside and hopefully bring that back into supply chains. And when you're doing all of this mission driven work and you're an individual or independent, you wear a lot of different hats, you have all these different projects. It doesn't matter what organization you work for. It starts with you and what your connection is. And then you're the sum of all of those experiences, your own knowledge. Maybe you don't consider yourself an expert, but
Right.
your lived experience and knowledge is just as important in a different way. So it's how did we create this organic ecosystem where people can show up as they are, leading with themselves, leading with their personal story. That's where people connect. And those were the conversations that were having the most impact on me, was when I can tell somebody like, oh, my first love is dance. And now all of a sudden I'm meeting like somebody who is working with dancers underwater and playing with freediving techniques and doing this, I don't know, meeting stuntmen and like who are
Yeah.
training the Avatar freediving team. Like there are infinite intersections in ways that everything connects to water. So that's what inspires me. There's not one that stands out. And
Right.
I have this running record of over like 200 names now of people that I'm like, you're a wave maker, you're a wave maker, like anyone. So I'm so excited to see this grow and have people be inspired to refer and nominate each other. And that's, I think, the thing that I want us to always be conscious of is that Serena, Andrew, and Amanda, like, we are not the Undertow. It is
Yeah.
this collective and it's everybody as individuals. So the three of us came together as individuals underneath this umbrella, and anybody else who is taking positive action for water, like, you belong here. And whether like
Right.
it's as a wave maker or as a community member, like that's that power of small, like individual collective action that is going to add up to a positive impact.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here is as part of it, this community is collaboration, right? Like that's a big thing. We are from an industry, no matter where you come from, science, business, marketing, communications. It is a community that continues to talk about collaboration, but a lot of times fails with collaboration. On an over, just on an overview site, even in the when you get into the weeds of it all. And that is the most frustrating part of working within an industry is the lack of collaboration. And a lot of times it's not necessarily one or two organizations or people. It's just the way the system is set up. People are competing for the same funding over and over again, and people are competing for just different aspects of it, and it just forms this me against you type of thing, and I need to get ahead. And that's a big problem, which we're trying to cut away, in the Undertow with WaveMakers, is to collaborate. There might be some WaveMakers that speak about the same things or have very similar missions. And they might do well by combining, they might do well by supporting each other, they might do well interacting with each other, and still be able to succeed, both of them or more than one, or however that might be. And I think that is one of the foundations that we've been wanting to discuss, because we've all gone through it. And it sucks. And when we come together and we collaborate, that's when we really start to really see change happen. And I think that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing in the Undertow and providing in the Undertow. And it takes a lot from each individual to just be like, yeah, like, look, I want to see you succeed. I want you to do well. And I think that's what it really comes down to when we see these WaveMakers. We get inspired, like, I want to do something that helps, build whatever business you have, what are their services or products that you have, what can I do to help, and let's provide a community for that. So I think this is really great in terms of WaveMaker. Let's now, people might be listening to this, be like, look, I think I'm a WaveMaker, or I want to join the Undertow as a community member or thing. Amanda, why don't we just talk a little bit about like how they can join and what the next steps.
Wait, can I jump in, Andrew? Because
for sure.
I think you framed that up so well, and it's a great lead in. And so, like, if we've talked about all the components, so if we were to summarize this, if you're a WaveMaker, right? What I'm hearing, / what I know, because we're building this, is we're going to be that place for you, that infrastructure for you to plug your years of work, dedication, research, commitment to, whether it's the products you've been creating, the services, the initiatives, and the story that started it all.
Yeah.
We're going to give you that place. We're all going to be a part of this collective community on this mission to drive 10 million new ocean connections and drive more funding, 5 million in ocean action. And we're going to create the action pathways for people who don't really know where to start, to be able to start making those everyday changes in their lives, in their personal lives, in their communities, and hopefully at a later stage in the companies that they might represent and be advocates for and within. So that's our WaveMakers. And for our community side, the 10 million of you, hopefully, who we bring together because you're inspired by Amanda's story, you're inspired by Andrew's story, maybe you're inspired by mine, or Amanda, the folks that you met, the list of 200 folks you have on your list. Andrew, I don't even know what number episode you're on, to be honest. Like episode 1 million of the podcast that you brought through. Like, our community has a place now to come, be inspired by those stories, learn, build their ocean knowledge, and then take those action pathways. So now, Amanda, I think this is a great I wanted to summarize everything that I heard. I recognize we talked about it in pieces, but Amanda, over to you.
That's perfect. Excellent segue. There's so many things to do. So we're excited because right now, tomorrow, I guess, is the start, or this week is the start of World Ocean Week or Ocean Month. And we always reach this dilemma. Oh, it's Earth Month. Like, just do a social media post. It goes so much beyond that. Like, how are you now integrating and weaving in these conscious actions in your everyday life? I love now when people say, oh, you're really into the environment. I'm like, well, we kind of have to be. And that's not like a trend. It's not a hot new thing. So we're excited that the first action, that if you have no idea where to start, join the community. And that means that what you're going to have access to is you're going to hear and get to the chance to explore a new ocean connection every month. We're going to, whether that's art, that's music, mindfulness, travel, conservation, coral, we'll get super specific depending on who the WaveMaker and what their story is. But we invite you to explore and open your mind to a new way that you never thought life was interconnected to the ocean, through the life and the lens of whoever that featured WaveMaker is as a storyteller that month. And from there, you'll be invited to shop around the marketplace, whether it's something, an action that you can take in your personal life or if it's a solution, maybe it's you work for you're like looking for a B2B solution of a new plastics replacement to pull into your supply. There are infinite things that are going to appear on here, all the way to immersive water experiences, so you can get yourself in the water and really feel connected to what it is that we're talking about. Because reconnecting with nature, I can tell, is just driving people's new passion for saving the environment. And once you go underwater, you snorkel on a coral reef, one that is alive and thriving. You never forget it. Like, whether you love spending time just by the water or on it, it's physically being connected to it that is going to be the most inspiring. And the best way that we can do in a virtual context is to bring you as many different stories and perspectives as we can. And that's a whole other conversation on like building an online community and what this looks like from a design side. But we know that community driven initiatives are the most effective, and digital infrastructure underlies a lot of what we do, how we can coordinate and collaborate in a more effective and efficient way, and build new, interesting social enterprise like business models that are actually going to help flow funding into the issues, and the sustainable development goals that we care the most about. So join the community. That's your first action. Come on in, start
Nice.
joining our monthly events, meeting other people whose lives and work have been inspired by water. And I guarantee there's no shortage of inspiration in this group of people that is lurking below the surface. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I love that. I love that. And to do that, if you want to sign up, you can do so. Speakupforblue.com/the undertow. So that's speakupforblue.com/the undertow. I'll put the link in the show notes so that people can get access to it. Sign up. We'll be in touch with you on how to join and everything like that. And as we're getting this online community ready for you, but we want to announce it because this is something we want people to be a part of. We want to see you in this community. We want to see you taking action. We want to see you taking part in conversations. It's a fantastic way to be able to see all the different conversations that are going around about the ocean, whether you're a marine biologist, whether you're in business, whether you're in marketing, it doesn't matter. You want to be a part of the ocean, you get to be a part of the ocean. So we're looking forward to doing that. So speakupforblue.com/the undertow. Ladies, it's so great to have you on the podcast. Obviously, this is not the last time we're going to have you on. We're going to have you on more to talk about the undertow. We'll have our own little series here on the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. But thank you so much for joining me. Just to let people know, we're recording this really early in the morning because our schedules are so busy, because we are WaveMakers and we have a lot of stuff going on. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come out and talk about the Undertow and WaveMakers. And for everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Serena. Thank you, Amanda, for joining us today on the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. You're going to hear a lot more from both of those two incredible women because, one, they're WaveMakers. Two, they're my co-founders, and the How to Protect the Ocean podcast is now powered by the Undertow. We're doing a full-on integration. I can't wait for this. There's going to be some podcasts that are coming in. Remember, we have Beyond Jaws and we have the How to Protect the Ocean podcast as part of the Speak Up for Blue network. This is going to be amazing what we're going to be putting together as we move forward with the Undertow. So I can't wait for you to be a part of it. To do so, all you have to do is go to speakupforblue.com/the undertow to just go on a list. We'll give you some information when we fully and functionally launch this online community. You're going to love it. I can't wait to be a part of it. We're going to be having a lot of things going on, community, like virtual meetups and so forth. It's going to be a lot of fun. But you get to the podcast, there's no algorithms. It's basically as information comes in, you're going to get to know about it. That's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to get to meet our WaveMakers. So keep connected. Speakupforblue.com/the undertow. Put your email in. You will remain connected with us. And it's not just for this podcast, but for building a community for the ocean to do 10 million connections and $5 million in action. I can't wait for you to be a part of this. And thank you so much for listening to this episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. I'm your host, Lewin, from the True North Strong and Free. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time, and happy conservation.